Yeah, let's go. Ivern, the Green Father. The Green
Welcome,
Father.
ladies and gentlemen, to another
Thank you,
episode
thank
of
you,
the
thank you.
Lore of League of Legends.
Glad to be back.
In this episode, we're going to be covering a champion that consists of half man, half tree, who
Half man,
cultivates the
half
forests wherever he
tree.
goes.
Holy shit, bro.
Without further ado, I present to you the lore of Ivern, the Green Father. Enjoy. In the early days of the Freljord, Ivern was a fierce warrior with an iron will and unflinching resolve. However, he was powerless when the Iceborn rose to prominence and looked down upon Ivern and his kind as hapless mortals who dared challenge their will. He plotted with his kinsmen to overthrow their sorcerous masters. Ivern the Cruel and the battle-hardened battalion under his command set sail from the
He does sound like Ivern the Cruel, right? It's almost like Ivan, you know, the red. It's like
frozen harbours of Frostguard for a faraway land that, according to legend, was the source of all magic. If Ivern could seize such a power for his own, then he could break the Iceborn. As the fleet crested the horizon, they sailed out of memory and into myth, for they were never seen again, and faded from Freljordian history like tracks in the winter's snow. The sea, in abject rejection of their noble goals, fell on them with waves like crushing jaws, and shook the resolve of even the heartiest of men. Ivern, after putting many mutinous cowards to the sword, landed his armada on the shores of Ionia, and mercilessly cut down the native resistance.
Ivern knows no chill. Holy shit.
The Ionians surrendered and led the Freljordians to a sacred grove known as Omikaelen, the heart of the world.
Okay.
Most of Ivern's men thought this a gift to the conquerors, a sign of loyalty, but it was there, in that strange and verdant garden, where they met the fiercest resistance. A mysterious new foe arose. Chimeric beings, half human, half animal, stalked the dwindling battalion, relentlessly cutting down the would-be conquerors. Undeterred, Ivern pressed on until the remnants of his army, battered and few, discovered what the Ionians held so sacred, the God Willow, a massive tree dripping with long gossamer leaves that shimmered with golden green light. While his men were being slaughtered in a final assault, Ivern stood transfixed by the mystical tree. Seeking to shatter the resolve of his foes, he gripped his battle axe and swung at the tree with a force of 10 men. He felt no impact. He felt nothing.
Okay.
There was only blinding light when he felled the God Willow and extinguished all the life force within it. What happened next was even stranger. His hands fused and became one with the battle axe and God Willow's heart.
Oh shit.
His limbs grew in length and became knotty and rough to the touch.
Naughty.
He stood helpless as the rest of his body followed suit. Within moments he was 10 feet tall, staring down over a field of his slain comrades. He could not feel his heart pumping, but he was awake and aware.
Sounds like actually no, not really. Gulliver's Isle was a bit different, right? But it's like he woke up and suddenly he was giant because everyone else was tiny, but he was a normal human, I guess.
He heard a voice deep inside him. "Watch," it said. In what felt like seconds, the bodies decayed under legions of colourful mushrooms and buzzing insects. Flesh fed the carrion birds and wolves alike. Bones rotted into fertile soil, and seeds from fruit eaten by the conquerors budded and sprouted into trees with fruit of their own.
Witness nature.
Hills rose and fell like lungs gently filling with breath. Leaves and petals pulsed like colourful hearts. From the death that surrounded them, life exploded forth in ways too numerous to believe. Never had Ivern beheld such beauty. Life, in all its forms, was tangled together like an impossible knot that didn't want to be untied. He reflected on the mistakes he...
So I had this conversation with my grandma the other day when I was driving her, and like we were driving in like this area and had a lot of trees and stuff. She's like, "Oh my god, this is so pretty and whatever, because nature and stuff." And I was like, "It's just fucking trees, man. I don't get it, right?" But it's like she's very of the whole like mentality of what this is kind of like referring to, which is like, look at life in all its glory. And for me, it's like it's a fucking tree. So I can't relate to Ivern at all.
He'd made, the cruelty he'd visited on others,
Like I understand,
and felt an overwhelming sense of...
like I understand the people who say those things, but I can't relate at all. It's like I don't care about these things.
Sorrow. He wept, and dewdrop tears sprang
Aw.
up on the bark and leaves that now covered his newly tree-like body. Am I now becoming the God Willow? He wondered. Then the voice inside Ivern told him something new. Listen, it said. So he did. At first he heard nothing. Then the whimpers of countless beasts, the bawling of rivers, the howling of trees, and the dripping tears of moss. They lamented the God Willow's death in a symphony of mourning. Remorse washed over Ivern, and he cried out for forgiveness. A tiny squirrel snuggled at his legs. He felt the gaze of nearby animals. Plants reached out for him with their roots. Nature's gaze fixed on him, and he felt the seeping warmth of forgiveness.
Yeah, you know what would be cool is Ivern's passive. Every time like a jungle camp would die near him, like actually die, not like the way he's like, you know, convinces them to give the buff, but actually would die. Like someone would attack it. It would be cool if he would get in his passive would enrage or something like that and just start going like fucking movement speed increase, attack speed increase, some shit like that. Which doesn't really work with him, but it's like you would see him like turn red and angry and some shit. That would be fucking fantastic.
When Ivern finally moved, over a century had passed and the world felt new. The violence and cruelty of his old self were echoes in his heart. Never again would he be the man who brought so much destruction. He even asked the voice deep inside, why him? Why was he spared? The voice spoke a third time. Grow, it said. This puzzled him. Was he supposed to grow or help the world grow? He decided it was probably both. After all, who couldn't use a bit of extra growth? Ivern looked at himself, his bark-like skin, the mushroom on his arm, the family of squirrels tucked away in the area where his scabbard used to reside. This new body astounded him. He found he could dig his toes deep into the soil and commune with roots and insects alike. Even the dirt itself had opinions. Ivern decided an excellent start was to get to know all the world's inhabitants, and so he did. It took a few centuries. How many exactly Ivern couldn't say, because time flies when one is having such a good time.
Oh, yeah.
He wandered the world and developed close kinships with all the creatures great and small. He observed their foibles, delighting in their little habits, and occasionally offering a helping hand. He shortened the inchworm's path, played tricks with mischievous bramblebacks, hugged thorny elmarks to happiness, and laughed with wizened elder fungus. Everywhere Ivern went, forests blossomed in perpetual springtime and beasts dwelled in harmony. On occasion, he rescued creatures unjustly wounded by careless predators. In one instance, he found a wounded stone golem. Knowing the poor creature was on the verge of death, he fashioned her a new heart from a river pebble. Adhering to the tradition of all mineral beings, the golem became Ivern's devoted life friend. He named her Daisy, after
that's
the flowers
Daisy.
that mysteriously sprouted from her stone body. Today, if Ivern is threatened, she races to his side.
Aww.
Sometimes he encountered communities of humans, many of them somewhat peaceful.
No, don't hurt Ivern. It's fucking like runs.
They called him Bramblefoot or the
forest.
Greenfather and told tales of his strange benevolence. But how they took more than they gave, how they could be cruel and human, unnerved Ivern, and he retreated from their company. Then the voice inside of him spoke for a fourth time.
Oh,
Show, it said.
not tell.
Ivern left the woodlands and journeyed out to meet a
Show,
world
don't
planted in
tell.
mankind. The resolve he'd once felt returned, but this time it wasn't driven by malice or cruelty. One day he hoped to replace what he took. If he was called to be the new God Willow, he needed to cultivate humanity, help them watch, listen, and grow. Being human once himself, Ivern knew this would be difficult. So he smiled and challenged himself to complete this task before the final setting of the sun. He knew he would have the time.
Yeah, a guy who's gonna live forever. Yeah. Right, well, that's the tree hugger right there. I don't even know if I can call him tree hugger or just tree man. I don't even know. But, yeah. But it's cool. Like, I didn't even think about the name. Ivern does sound like someone who was brutal. And then it's like he was shown the beauty of life and, like, it completely changed him to the point where he just rescues life and shit. That's actually pretty cool. Yeah. Anyways, that's that. And let's go to the next one.